Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurame Deva Sarvakarashi Sarvadam Ganganapate Namaha. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Maheshwara Guru Deva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sarva Mangala Mangalle Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanitrambike Devi Narayani Namostute. Om Namo Narayanaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Shri Hanumanji Maharaj Ki Jai. Welcome to Nitya Satsang. Today is the 18th of July 2025. I want to offer my prostrations to all the great sages and to Bhagavan residing in the heart of every single being. We're continuing to examine Prem-Lakshana Bhakti, or what is called the 10th Bhakti, the Prema Bhakti. And to understand this in more detail, as well as for our sadhana to continue towards that sthiti, towards that extraordinary bhakti, many different perspectives are being presented on a daily basis here. So to continue from yesterday, we were talking about the various types of energies that Bhagavan has. Bhagavan has infinite number of energies. We cannot list all of them, obviously. But the acharyas nonetheless have tried to put some type of a understanding around these extraordinary powers of Paramatma. So bhakti itself is the highest Shakti. We should be very clear what we mean by bhakti and what is meant by Shakti. There's a lot of deep ideas here, and I want to make sure we are on the same page, that we can progress together very carefully. When we use the word Shakti, Shakti refers to the dynamic, creative force that is responsible for the entire creation. This is one understanding of Shakti, and that is called the Bahir Shakti. So we talked about this before, that the Bahir Shakti is the material cosmos. This is one type of extraordinary Shakti. And how many cosmos are there? Infinite number. There is no limit to the number of the Brahmanda. Ananta Koti Brahmanda are present. So having said that, the external material potency is where the Tatastha Shakti, the Jivatma, is within that range, within the material manifestation. We know this already. This is in our perception. We know this. We know that there is a material world. We can see it. We can perceive it. The body is also made out of matter. Every being that exists is made out of the material energy. We know this. And we can see this also. Now, the Swarupa Shakti is really where our Jivatma is some aspect of that Swarupa Shakti. So who are we? We are actually connected all the time with the source, which is Bhagavan Krishna, which is the Mool Tattva. That Tattva is the same. There is no difference inside that Tattva. But the fact is that the existential purpose and function becomes clear in relation to divine will of Bhagavan, of the Absolute, who voluntarily enacts a certain kind of limitation for the purpose of manifesting cosmic Leela. This is very interesting. And that's enacting self-limitation is called Sivaya Sankocha or Shivaya Sankocha. Now this is a little interesting tattvic concept. The concept here is that Bhagavan Krishna and his internal potency, that is Mahashakti Radhika Ji, they themselves, as part of who they are, they have within themselves infinite number of Jivatma, that who we are. So it's not that Bhagavan has degraded into the Jivatma. That's not the case. But the Jivatma is not completely separate from the Paramatma either. So to experience the Leela of creation, is called the Leela of Utpatti Sthiti Pralay. This is considered to be also a Leela through Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv. So Bhagavan Krishna and Radhika ji, by their will, then Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv are created underneath them. You see, so there are infinite number of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv created from Radha and Krishna. This is Gaudiya Vaishnava theology. As it might be, some ideas might be new to some of you. We think Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv is the ultimate. That is not true. Based on the Vaishnava theories and many of the other tattvas, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv anant hai. It's not just one Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv. So Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv, infinite number of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiv are coming out of the will of Radha and Krishna. Aisi baat hai. Again, I don't want to go too much into that. For our purposes, it's just God. We don't need to worry about all those higher level distinctions. But the point here is that the creation is happening by the will of Sri Krishna in Golok. And I'm speaking specifically from the Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara, because there are other models of the same thing described in other ways. I don't want to confuse it too much. It'll get too convoluted. So we want to keep it very simple and straightforward in terms of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Vaishnava Parampara, and specifically we're aiming towards Prema Bhakti. But remember one thing, Prema Bhakti you can have towards any Ishtadevata. I'm using Krishna Bhagwan as a center point here, but you can have Shivji, you can have Devi, you can have Ganeshji, you can have Hanumanji, you can have Jesus, Guru Nanak, aapki jaisi ichha. Aap kar sakte ho. Allah, if you're a Muslim, you can do that way. It's ultimately it's the same ultimate truth. To satya to ek hi param tattva hai. So we should not be creating any divisiveness with all of this. So that should also be very clear. Okay, let's go a little bit further to understand this. That the creation of the cosmos, what we consider to be this cosmos, this is only just a fragment. That we're not even able to see the whole cosmos. We are only seeing through our senses and through the limitations through this body. You have to go into samadhi to see the whole Brahmand. There's no other way to see the Brahmand. You cannot see it through the telescopes and all that. You can see galaxies and all that. That's fine. You can see maybe, atoms and particles and whatnot. But those are only just not even 1% of what is there. The actual reality can only be seen in samadhi. Isiliye, from Upanishadic time, the yogis would sit in samadhi and they could see the whole Brahmand. Each Brahmand has 14 lokas. They discovered why 14 lokas, why not 15, why not 17? That is the way it is created, that's why. And then they named them, they can see what is in those lokas. You cannot see those things, you cannot see those dimensions other than samadhi. You have to go into samadhi. For yog samadhi, nirvikalpa samadhi, इसमें से ही ये सब हम देख सकते हैं. हाँ, देखना है जिसको, करो योगाभ्यास, भगवान के साथ अखंड वृत्ति, continuous, different yogas are there. सब वासना छोड़ दो. Sit for dhyan 8, 10, 15 hours a day. And you want to see the higher reality. Leave all other things aside. You have to stay in isolation for that. Away from the sansar. Ye sab alag marg hai, if you want to go into samadhi. You cannot live in this world and go into samadhi. You'll not be able to live in this world. So that kind of samadhi is not for all of us. हमारे लिए एक अलग प्रकार की समाधि है जिसको ज्ञान समाधि कहते हैं. So that's a different kind of samadhi, and that is what we can do. So we don't have to worry about sitting in that long path of retracting our vritti into nirvikalpa sthiti. We can live in the world without any kind of entanglement, with extraordinary bhakti. And if God's wish is there, we sit in dhyan, आपकी अखंड वृत्ति हो जाती है, आप देख भी सकते. You don't need to go to that long path of nirvikalpa samadhi. There's another way to see all those things, that if you want to see them, and that is through bhakti yoga. Bhakti mein kya hai? You're not responsible for your moksha. Bhagavan is the grantor of moksha. You're responsible for connecting with Paramatma, not for mukti. You understand this point. In these other paths, people think that they can reach their own mukti. Maybe they can reach somewhere. We don't know. We don't want to judge anybody. Jo bhi hota hai usme, a lot of crazy things can happen in that too. So isliye bhakti kabhi chhodni nahi. Rely completely on Paramatma. Let him take us through the path he's going to take us through. Then that is the safest and best way to go. We don't have to carry the tension, how I will become mukta. I said, you forget about that concept even of becoming mukta. Just simply rely on Paramatma. I am yours. You take me wherever you want to take me. You just love. The gopis were not thinking about mukti. They were thinking only about Krishna and crazy about him. That's all. Even the concept of mukti is forgotten. The concept, everything is forgotten except love. And then the duties continue, the actions continue. It's very simple actually. There's nothing complicated about this. But there is nonetheless, there is a further development from inside our heart. So as we continue the journey towards Paramatma, all of these intermediate stages can open up. You might be sleeping at night time and all of a sudden the Brahmand appears. It can happen, but that happens by the divine will. Yes, or Swargalok, aap dekh sakte hain, Maharlok, other lokas you might see, Vaikuntha Lok, Chakras, different galaxies. These things are possible. Why not? If you want to see, if that Ichha is there and you are a great Bhakta, you can see the Bhagavan will show that to you. Remember that story of Krishna, right? He opens his mouth and Yashodaji tries to find the mud. He eats some mud, but the whole Brahmand is seen inside. What is that? That is where Bhagavan removes the Yog Maya and shows you the Vishwarup. The same thing happens inside the Gita. Arjun is shown the Vishwarup darshan. Eventually Arjun says, I don't want to see all this thing. This is all too frightening and this is all too difficult for us to grasp all this thing, because it's like, my God, I cannot. Just show me your two-armed form or four-armed form and I want to just worship you. This is too much to handle. That's what it is. We cannot imagine all this thing. So वो जो सब समाधि में दिखता है, इसमें the Jivatma cannot handle what is in Samadhi. And by the way, the discussion is there in Garada Pratham 25, Vachanamrut. There is an incident there of a female devotee. Her name is Ladki Bai. I'll just mention this very quickly. What can happen here. That if a person is a great bhakta and is samadhi nishta, eventually you will get into that same nirvikalpa samadhi through bhakti. Yes. Wo hoga. If a person has progressed very far, then these things can happen. What can happen? So in this case, what happened in this situation, the name of the devotee it's a villager devotee. Her name was Ladki Bai. That was her name in Gujarat somewhere. She was samadhi nishta and she was a great bhakta. So she would sit for dhyan and she could have these spiritual experiences in samadhi. So one time what happened, she had this experience of this divine Divya Prakash ka anubhav. And then she said, I'm burning. Maharaj, Bhagwan Swami Narayan, उनको मालूम था ये सब क्या हो रहा है. तो वो क्या, he said he brought her back out of that, back her into body consciousness. This is an example of Nirvikalpa Samadhi. He brought her back out of that. And he said to her, you are still deficient in Atmanishta. Think about this concept. कि मैं आत्मा हूँ, मैं ब्रह्म हूँ, शरीर से completely अलग तत्व है हमारा. So you are still deficient in Atmanishta. So what he did, he said, I'm going to place you back in Samadhi. You sit for dhyan. So she sat for meditation, and by Maharaj's grace, he used to put a lot of people in Samadhi. That's another whole different subject altogether. But he placed her in Samadhi. He said, I'm going to open up the Muladhara Chakra. वहाँ गणेश जी का स्थान है. और वहाँ जाके तुम्हारा जो स्वरूप जो है वो आप देख सकते हैं. Because in each of the chakras, there's an opportunity to see the Atma Tattva, to experience the Atma Tattva. Yes, so Maharaj put her back into Samadhi. The Muladhara Chakra opened up. Ganesh ji ka swarup hai waha. Divya swarup hai. Bhagwan Ganesh ji ka swarup hai. It's a 4-petal lotus, and it's not some imaginary thing. It's an actual wo tattva hai. So she went inside there, and then the Atma was realized through the Muladhara chakra. And so then that deficiency she was having, Maharaj removed that deficiency. So she had the full darshan of the Atma Tattva, and then he brought her back again. Now again, these great beings like Shriji Maharaj and others, they are able to place others in samadhi. Yes, there are incidences like this. But uska bhi mahima itna hi hai that you can see the tattva, कि हमारा original tattva क्या है, चक्र क्या है, ये सब ब्रह्मांड क्या है, गोलोक वैकुंठ आदि धाम देख सकते हैं. अखंड वृत्ति, गरुड़ा प्रथम 1 पहला वचनामृत में ही महाराज कहते हैं कि जिसकी अखंड वृत्ति परमात्मा के स्वरूप में हो गई है, उसको तो जीव ईश्वर माया ब्रह्म गोलोक श्वेतद्वीप वैकुंठ ब्रह्मपुर अक्षरधाम ये सब अलौकिक विजन मिल सकते हैं. महाराज इस इन गुजरात तत्काल देखाए. तत्काल मीनिंग जीव ईश्वर माया ब्रह्म तथा गोलोक वैकुंठ आदि धाम तत्काल देखाए. दैट मीन्स व्हेन वी हैव रीच्ड अनन्य चिंतन भगवान के साथ, तेल धारा वृत्ति, तेल की धार, तेल धारा मीन्स लाइक दैट अनब्रोकन फ्लो ऑफ ऑयल फ्रॉम वन कंटेनर टू अनदर, जिसको तेल धारा कहते हैं इन द गुजराती. तेल की, आई डोंट नो व्हाट इज द हिंदी एग्जैक्टली फॉर दैट, बट इट इज दैट कंटिन्यूअस फ्लो. That kind of flow, when you're pouring oil from one container to another, that flow that is there, it's unbroken. When we reach that kind of flow towards Bhagavan, that is Prem-Lakshana Bhakti. That is exactly what we're talking about. Wahi Prema Bhakti. When that opens up by the grace of Radhika ji, then this is interesting, if a bhakta in that state wants to see Goloka, wants to see chakras, wants to see Brahmand, wants to see galaxies, wants to see Brahmalok, Satyalok, Maharlok, ये सब देखना है जिसको, if the sankalpa even comes slightly that I want to see, Bhagwan shows that right away. Tatkal dekhai. This is in Vachanamrut. I have actually, if you go to the Swaminarayan Spirituality recordings, the 56 recordings have been done on just that first two paragraphs in English. So this is described in detail, this thing that I'm explaining here about this Jeev Ishwar Maya Brahm Parabrahm, the Akhanda Vritti. But it's all the same, Satya to ek hi hai, we're just trying to present it in different ways. That is in English, and that is in sab Vachanamrut ke recording hai. But the point there is that if we open the door, if the door is opened into Prema Bhakti, Prem Bhakti mein beyond Sattva Gun, as we mentioned yesterday, beyond the Shuddha Sattva Gun, by the grace of Radhika ji, she opens Mahabhav, and once that opens up, then you're sitting, even the mind and body and everything are here, the opportunity to see into a new dimension exists. Now, the bhakta doesn't actually want to see all those things. The bhakta is so fulfilled by bhakti, there's no desire to see any of those things. But if a desire slightly shows up, it all opens up. You're sitting just at your home, you're sitting with your eyes closed for 2-3 minutes. 1 minute your eyes could be closed, 30 seconds eyes could be closed, looking at, in that Akhanda Vritti, and hundreds of years can go by in the higher dimension. ऐसी सब समाधि की स्थिति है. So you're no longer, the bhakta is still here, but not here. Performing activity, doing duties, but is able to pierce through the flux of Maya. This is the kind of sthiti that can easily come about through Akhanda Vritti. Now, just a couple more points. I know I've gone over time here. Just a couple more points here. That this is a matter of walking this path. There are a lot of extraordinary technical ideas here. There's no end to them. I mean, they're very profound and they're tremendous to understand. We need to understand them, no doubt. We need to get out of this tension we were talking about last time. The jiva suspended between the poles of matter and spirit experiences existential tension until realigned through the gravitational pull of Haladini Shakti. This is what we want right here, this realignment through Haladini Shakti. What is this realignment? It is, we mentioned it before, the relationship intensification and refinement. So realignment happens by the intensity of the relationship. The relationship with Paramatma, with Bhagavan, that is not just like a casual relationship. It is a very solid relationship. Yeah, it is a committed relationship. Like when a person is married, we understand this example. When marriage, once you tie the knot and put the rings on and get the official document, and now marriage is there, the whole ball game changes. They cross that line into marriage, the whole ball game changes, right? Now there's commitment. There is the other person in one's life continuously. I mean, even though you may not be physically together, but internally there is a continuous presence of that person. Isn't that true? In marriage, those of you who are married, you know about this thing. Similarly, the same kind of presence with Paramatma. That's all. It's actually very simple to understand. Particularly in Grahasthashram, those who are in householder life can understand this very easily, because you already have that ability to do that. You already have done that with the significant other, with family and friends. Good, beautiful, do that. That ability is already there. All that is needed is that same ability, that same internal bhav gets connected to Shri Bhagavan. When that relationship with Paramatma enhances, increases, intensifies, then what happens? Bhakti increases. The quantity, quality, and direction of bhakti intensifies. Remember in our angel wing programs, we talk about those 6 points, 6, 5, 5, 6, and 5, 6, 5. Remember, right? So thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy, that's 5. Each one of those has 6 components. Quality, quantity, direction, dimension, depth, and structure. That's the 6. Those are 6 components, 6 aspects. And then the other 5 are the what is that now? It slips my mind now. Let me see. There's so there's thought, emotion, memory, desire, energy, and then you got those other 6. And there was something else also. It'll come to me in a second. My point here is simply that the intensification increases quality, quantity, and direction of our manovritti, of the antakarana, intensifies towards Paramatma. This is called intensification. You see, and that is extraordinarily potent. What does that do to our Shakti? The internal Shakti granted by Paramatma, Shakti to unki hai, it is realigned into Haladini Shakti, into the bliss Shakti. Isn't that what everybody wants? Everybody wants Ananda. So Ananda hai kya? Ananda exists in Bhakti and only in Bhakti, not in the Panch Vishayas. The Panch Vishayas have Sukh and Dukha. The Panch Vishayas are a duality. You can never find Ananda just by increasing the experience of the Panch Vishayas. Yes, there can be amazing experiences. There are in the material world, but they are always limited. They cannot be expanded further to open Ananda. One will get sick of them, in fact. That's what will happen. For example, if you're dancing with somebody and you're enjoying the dance, you can enjoy it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, maybe 1 hour, maybe 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. But if it goes on beyond that, you will get sick of it. You say, let's turn this music off. You see, turn this thing off, shut it off. This happens with all the Vishayas. With food it happens. With conversation it happens. With taking trips it happens. People love to take trips. Eventually they say, no, I want to just go home and relax. I don't want any more of this. It happens in every dimension of life. And the only point here, I know I went over time, the only simple point here is that in bhakti, in prema bhakti, this does not happen. Iska saturation nahi hai. When it opens up, it is new, constantly new. And that is ananda. It is ever increasing, ever expanding. It doesn't ever diminish. It doesn't ever go away. It doesn't ever get saturated. We don't get tired of it. Yeah, in the sadhana time, in 9 forms of devotion, that happens. You get tired, this is enough, you swing back and forth. All those things happen in sadhana time. When the bhakta reaches Siddha Bhakti, Prem-Lakshana Bhakti, all of this kind of tiredness and I don't want to do this anymore, or all that doesn't happen. There is the anubhav of ananda. इसको हलादिनी शक्ति की कुछ झांकी होती है. When Radhika ji opens, gives even drops of that, you will not want anything else in life. Not anything else. Other things are coming and going only. That is the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita. That is the essence of the 18,000 verses of the Bhagavatam. That is the essence of every single scripture ever written. That is the essence of life. So with that, let's stop here for now. As you know, we'll be doing the Shri Suktam today. Some of you have sent your sankalpa and all that. We'll be starting the puja at 9 o'clock exactly. I'll send you all the pictures and all. We're doing 15 times Shri Suktam at my place every Friday. Prayers to Mahalakshmi ji for everyone's good health, good wealth, for progress towards Akhanda Bhakti. जीवन का जो लक्ष्य है वहाँ पहुँच सकते हैं, but we should not have any obstacles in our sansaric life, in our material life. That is why the Veda mantra Shri Suktam is extremely important, and we're going to do that as a prayer, because the Veda mantras connect with this higher bhakti. It all connects together. It's all part of the same framework. With that, let's stop here for now. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakarishu Sarvadam Ganganapade Namaha Om Aim Hrim Klim Chamundai Vicham Glom Hum Klim Jum Saha ज्वाले ज्वाले ज्वल जल प्रज्वल प्रज्वलाईं ब्रीं क्लीं चमुण्डै विचज्वलहं सं लं क्षं फट् स्वाहा. ओम दुर्गे दुर्गे रक्षिणी ठ ठ स्वाहा. ओम श्रीं ब्रीं श्रीं कमले कमलाले प्रसीद प्रसीद. ओम श्रीं ब्रीं श्रीं श्री महालक्ष्मे नमः. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमः. श्री राधा कृष्णाय नमो नमः. ओम ह्रीं स्वाहा. All right, so